Okay, so like I said, this is going to go up on my YouTube for a resource to come back to for information for because there's so many different products. I think that a lot of people aren't aware that we can offer type 1 and type 2 diabetics because there's literally 30 million Americans walking around with type 2 diabetes, just type 2 alone. Okay. And like 5 million that are actually walking around undiagnosed right now. That's a lot of people. So I'm not sure. I know me personally, I come across a lot of diabetics. And so recently, since my oldest son has been diagnosed with type 1, I'm getting lots and lots of messages from team members. So from all different teams. So I thought I would do a quick video to go over a few things. I want to tell you guys the difference between type 1 and type 2. And also I'm going to go over some products that I think that you guys wouldn't even realize how much like a diabetic would just be like insanely all over some of these products. So yeah, so my son was diagnosed this year with type 1 diabetes. We were very lucky. He didn't get very sick. He was diagnosed April 3rd this year. We barely even saw any of the symptoms. So it was quite a shock for us. And we literally went into the ER for like back pain, and he had actually been quite sick for that winter, which we're pretty sure that's where he got where his immune system started attacking his pancreas. And but the biggest thing I wanted to point out to you guys, type 1 and type 2 are two completely different diseases. They are completely two different diseases, okay? Type 2, 90% of people will have type 2. This can be caused by a poor lack of diet. I've actually learned recently, though, that people think that type 1 is more genetic, but it's actually type 2, okay? And type 2 is actually, you're 90% more at risk for it being a genetic disorder than type 1 is. People always think those are backwards. So if you guys don't know what diabetes is, for normal people, we have what we call a pancreas, right? A pancreas is what shoots insulin into our body when we eat things like carbs and sugars and that kind of thing. And when insulin goes into our body, our cells, the insulin is the key that opens up our cells so the sugars can go in. So when you don't have insulin, your sugar is not getting into your cells, and it just floats around all in your blood. So what happens is your blood sugar, or they call it blood glucose, skyrockets, right? You get high blood sugar. And that's normally what a type 2 diabetic is. Like I said, type 2s are running at a high blood sugar. They can be insulin resistant, but they can actually reverse the effects of it by controlling it with diet, and they can also reverse the effects of it by just living a healthier lifestyle. Type 1s are different, okay? Type 1s, it's an autoimmune disease. So that's the difference between type 2s and type 1s. Type 2s usually have caused it by diet, and type 1s have, for some unknown reason, they still don't know to this day. Like I said, a lot of people think it's genetic, but it's actually, you're only like 10% more predisposed to have it for a genetic disorder. But it's actually, nobody actually knows. And what happens is your immune system just starts attacking your beta cells in your pancreas, and eventually your pancreas is just gone. And it's not they didn't do anything wrong. It's not because they ate crappy. It's not because their cousin second removed on their aunt's side is diabetic. It's not because it's not anything like that. They think honestly that it's just one day that they got sick and their immune system just saw their beta cells in their pancreas as something bad, and they started attacking it. So it just went, and it slowly starts to eat away at your pancreas. So those are basically the differences. Type 2 can be controlled by diet. Type 1s cannot. Type 1s are usually, they have to inject insulin into their bodies to, again, open those cells like the key to get the sugars in there. They will always be like that for the rest of their life. I'm sure you maybe if you know something about it, there's probably studies out there so people have been able to lower their insulin levels with certain things, but you know, that it's a very controversial subject in the diabetic community, so we're not going to get into that so much. But And then the different terms between type 2 and type 1, there's hypoglycemia and hyperglycemia, right? So hyperglycemia, that you'll hear that word a lot, that is type 2 diabetes. It means high blood sugar, right? So, and there is a lot of problems when someone can have type 2 diabetes. It can damage large and small blood vessels. It can lead to heart attacks, strokes, problem with kidneys, eyes, gums, nerves. Like Colton being diagnosed, he's not allowed to even get an eye exam for a full year, because when they're first diagnosed as a type 1, it affects their eyes so bad that if I went and took him to go get an eye checkup right now, he would need glasses. So when people, and that's when they're running at a high blood sugar for so long. So type 2 diabetics, that's what they're having to deal with: kidney problems, obviously, like obesity, heart attack, those kinds of things. Like feet problems, hand problems, because of they can actually, they're more predisposed to be getting infections because their blood sugar is so high. So Colton has to wear like certain footwear and stuff at the beaches and everything, because they can actually get gangrene and stuff a lot easier. So hypoglycemia, you guys, that's low blood sugar. That's only type 1s. So that's what we fight off with Colton. So that's basically our blood sugar as a normal person, me and you, whoever else is on here that's not diabetic, it runs between a 4 and a 6. Okay. When Colton was first diagnosed, he was an 18, and that's, we're talking like a type 2 diabetic. It's actually not that bad. A lot of people, when they get first diagnosed, are up to like a 33. And so when somebody goes on a low blood sugar, it means they go under 4. This is very dangerous. This is where we try to keep Colton out of. And the reason I'm telling all you guys all this right now is because it's going to make a lot more sense when I talk about the product. So, so our goal is, we would rather prefer Colton be high than low. A low blood sugar means that Colton, he gets very shaky. His hands start to shake. They get very confused, dizzy, and then it can come to the point where they can go unconscious, have a seizure, and die. So that's the point where we try to keep him out of. And that's a lot of the times is he's got too much insulin in his body because of his carbs that he's eaten and everything like that. So, but that's the difference. Type 2s will mainly run high. Type 1s, they'd rather be high. So, so that's a little bit of a rundown of it. Oh, and I just found another thing out the other day. So, every 3 months, Colton's got to get this certain test. It's called an A1C. And it's like an average of what his blood sugar has been over 3 months, because blood sugars will actually attach to your blood cells, and it actually will give you how well you've done over 3 months. He has to have a minimum of 3 A1Cs under 9. Remember I said 4 to 6 is good, under 9, or he's not allowed to get a driver's license. So I was like, I just found that out the other day, and we're like, whoa. So yeah, and so we do them every 3 months. So if he doesn't have good blood sugar for 9 months, he can't get a driver's license. So there's lots of things that they actually have to fight, which is pretty crazy. So okay, so let's get into products that I've given you like a little bit of a lowdown on it. The first one I want to talk about is our cleanses, because there is 2. Okay, so we all know our old cleanse, right? You guys can see, I don't know why it's so white down here. It's weird. Our old cleanse, okay? And then there's our new cleanse. So when Colton has to eat, he has to eat carbs. Colton has to have carbs, okay? He has to have a certain amount of minimum of carbs every single day. That's how he takes his insulin, right? If he has 30 grams of carbs, he takes a certain amount of insulin for it, right? So we call it carb counting. Well, our old cleanse has 13 grams of carbs in it. So if you were talking to a type 1 or a type 2, this would be something I would let them know, because they would have to carb count for it. And anything over 5 grams of carbs they have to take insulin for. So if it's under 5 grams, then it's a freebie. So we don't really have to worry about stuff like that. But our cleanse, 1 bottle of the cleanse is 13 grams. So that's like, he would actually have to carb count for it and take insulin for it. So our new cleanse would probably something I would more recommend for a type 1 and a type 2, because you're kind of like, for a type 2, they're trying to have like a low carb diet as it is, right? So it wouldn't be one that I would recommend. I would once we get up in Canada, it'd be great. I know you guys, a lot of you from the States, I would definitely stick to the other one, because I think it's it's 3 grams of carbs, 2 grams of net carbs. If you guys don't know, the difference in net carbs is when you look at the back of a package, I don't know if this one's on here. When you look at the back of an ingredients, there's going to be carbs and fiber. You got to take the carbs minus the fiber, that's your net carbs. The net carbs is what Colton carb counts. The reason being is fiber is a carb, but it's not digested into our blood system. So it doesn't count. So, and fiber lasts longer because it's not digested into our blood system. So net carbs is when people are asking for it, that's what it is, because we don't count fiber as carbs. So I would probably, this one, like I said, it's 13 grams of carbs. Colton would literally have to take, he would have to take a unit of insulin just to take one of these. So I would probably stick to the other one. Is it going to be good for someone to clean out their system? Absolutely. The cleanse is going to be absolutely amazing, like apple cider vinegar, all that type of stuff that's in the second one. Great for lowering blood sugar and regulating blood sugar and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely would stick to the other one because it's got a lot of carbs in it, unfortunately. And I think that's why they came out with another one. So that is definitely one. The coffee. Okay, the coffee is one I think that I get the question that I'm getting a lot of questions about because we all know we sell the coffee, right? But the problem with the coffee is fasting is not recommended for people that are type 1 diabetic. Type 2s, the ketogenic diet is incredible for. So, but the ketogenic diet could literally put Colton in a coma. So that's when we recommend it. I know I was the same way when before he was first diagnosed, you guys. I literally I said type 2, like, yeah, it's great for reversing the effects of type 2 diabetes. And I think I've even came across some type 1s. They're like, yeah, you're fine, right? And I've seen a lot of people in chats, like group chats and stuff, recommending products for type 1s. They're like, yeah, go for the coffee, the fat fighters. And I'm like, oh my God, no. So, it's not recommended by the American Diabetes Society. I want to put that out there because I don't want to get any controversy, because there is, again, reports of people that are being able to regulate insulin on their ketogenic diet, but it's not something I would recommend, and I would recommend them discussing that with their physician, because like I said, Colton has to get up in the morning and have a minimum of 30 grams of carbs. So there goes out the ketogenic diet. Plus he has to carry sugar, rapid acting sugar at all time, because when he does those lows of under 4 grams, he's got to go take rapid acting sugars like pop, juice, Skittles. I did a video the other day of all the stuff that we include in there. He's got these things called Dex tabs. They're like sugar tabs, and he's got to take 15 grams of carbs to try to get himself back up. So, so fasting on the ketogenic diet isn't the best, but fats don't have an effect on blood sugar, and they can actually be useful in the absorption of carbohydrates. So don't count the coffee out for a type 1 diabetic, okay? So it actually, and it's not digested as fast in our stomachs, right? Proteins and carbs are digested a lot faster. So fats, and that would be extremely beneficial for anybody that is a diabetic, for the fact that it slows the absorption of carbs. And the reason being is because, like, when Colton takes his insulin, and a lot of this has to do with type 2s as well, you guys, because a lot of type 2s take insulin because they're type 2, because they've become insulin resistant because their blood sugar is so high. So this has to do with both of them when I'm talking about that. When the slow absorption of carbs. So when Colton takes his insulin, I'm using my stomach. He's got lots of places he does, but it's not like it goes in your system and happens right away. It has a 4-hour process. So if something slows the absorption of carbohydrates, the better their insulin is going to be with it, and it's going to lessen the fact of how much ups and downs that they're going to have. So because if you're going to eat a food and it's absorbed in your system right away, and you burn it, and it's like running in your system, then your insulin acts like hours later, you're pretty much going to come up high and then you're going to go back down low. So that's going to be really, really beneficial for people. In a meal, a type 1 or type 2 actually shoots for, like, there's 3 points: a protein, a fat, and a carb. Those are the best things that they can all have in them. So fats are going to be extremely beneficial. So the BFF and the coffee would be great for allowing the time for insulin to work. And yeah, so, and then what else was I going to say about that? Plant-based fats are a lot better. So that is something that is also extremely beneficial when you're talking to someone. The fact that our coffee and our BFF are more plant-based fats, and even the grass-fed butter. You might think that's an animal-based fat, but when we say animal-based fats, you're thinking like bacon fat and stuff like that. So grass-fed butter is still a really, really good fat, because the meat-based fats like bacon, you're more at risk. Those are the bad fats. Like you're more at risk for cardiovascular disease and stuff like that. So the fact that our coffee is made with such great fats and our BFF would be super beneficial for someone that's diabetic. And then, like I said, and they also help you make you feel full and help regulate blood sugar, because they just don't. Because if you see a graph, when it comes to like carbs are up here and they shoot down right away. Proteins are one right underneath it, and fats is like a really, really slow one that's just level. So every diabetic should have a healthy high fat into their diet. So greens, obviously our greens are going to be amazing because there are 34 vegetables and 50 plus superfoods. I'm not going to really go into that one because there's no sugar in them. Like, we don't sweeten our stuff with sugar. It's just all around good nutrition in anybody that to have it. And the reason being is I would still recommend this one hugely, because having proper nutrition is going to make your metabolism run properly. And both diabetics, especially type 1s, have an extremely hard time losing weight, and even more extremely hard time building lean muscle mass. Because when Colton doesn't have the sugars in his cells, his body has no way of getting energy. So what it does is it eats his lean muscle mass. So they have a really hard time building lean muscle mass. And so greens are just for proper nutrition, daily detox. It'll just be super beneficial. Fat blockers, blocking 30% of your fat and 78% of your carbs. I'm just going to stick away from that one altogether for a type 1. Type 2, absolutely. Okay. They're trying to limit the amount of carbs and stuff like that, unless they're on a ketogenic diet, because it's going to block the fats. You're going to want to stick away from that one if they're on keto. If they're just trying to follow a low carb diet, just type 2s. Type 1s, absolutely not, because they can't block the carbs that they just took insulin for. They'll go low and they'll have to just eat sugar. So type 2s, if they're not on keto, then they're just following a low carb diet. Absolutely. Great. It regulates blood sugar because of the, what is it again? I don't even know why I haven't even seen this one for so long. It regulates blood sugar because of it's got chromium in them. That's right. I was going to get into chromium in a second, because that's going to come up with the TFX, because the TFX is on there anyways. TFX, absolutely. Both type 1s, type 2s. It's going to be a great source for them to lose weight. And there's nothing really in it that's going to affect it. There is chromium in it. Okay. Chromium is an amazing way to regulate blood sugars and lower blood sugars, like regulate them and lower them. So 100% for type 2s, that would be something that would, so when the reason I'm saying this, so when you're talking to someone like that is a type 2 and you're like, it's got, let's say, like, let's look at I got TFX right here. No, let's go with the fat fighters. The fat fighters, but like, girl, it's got 75 mcgs of chromium in it. That's going to help lower your blood sugar. It would be a key point when you're talking to somebody, right? So, and so does the TFX. The TFX has chromium in it as well. If the only thing is, what I've said when I've talked to type 1s is I let them know there's chromium in it, that it lowers blood sugar, just so make sure you take it with food, because you don't want them taking it on an empty stomach, because if they're at an empty stomach, and Colton was at like a 4.5, it's not like I don't have money to eat this stuff, guys, so don't worry. If Colton was a 4.5 and he needs to eat, and he's gonna go, and then he goes and takes this and it's got chromium in it, it could drop him below a 4 because it's gonna lower his blood sugar. So I just remind them it has to be taken with food, and they're like, oh, awesome. Just Celery, right? Our new product, Just Celery, that came out. And it's a minor fasting product, but it's only recommended to drink it and then eat 20 minutes later. So I would you could totally recommend that to both. There's not many carbs in it. There's only 2 grams of carbs. Remember, anything under 5 grams of carbs is free. So totally, that'd be an amazing source of nutrition. It's like a minor fasting, but they're going to eat 20 minutes later. So it's not like they're going to be fasting for hours. So I would highly recommend that one. And then, I got that part of it. Immunity, okay? Especially with the cold and flu season coming up. I would, especially if you're talking to a type 1 diabetic, even a type 2. You know what? I'm going to say both of them. There is like literally welcome mats that you can buy in the diabetic community. It says, if you're sick, turn around and leave. Okay. And it's, and a lot of people get that confused because they think, because a lot of them have an autoimmune disorder, they think they're more prone to getting sick. It's not true. They're not more prone to getting sick. Is if when they get sick, they get really sick. They have a harder time fighting it off. Pretty much anytime Colton's going to get sick, we'll probably end up in the hospital, because especially if he gets the flu, because you think about it, he got the flu in the summer. He didn't eat for 24 hours. And I was like, he could not keep anything down, which means we couldn't give him insulin. We couldn't give him food. So, and what happens a lot of the time too, is it really spikes their blood sugars. So it's not that they get sick more often. It's so like Colton will literally do everything in his power. If somebody gets sick, he will literally run away from the house. I'm not like, he will literally pick me up down the road, mom. Like, dad's house is sick. So you guys, immunity, if you're talking to someone, but I'd be like, hey girl, you know what? Like, I know cold and flu season coming up, and you did mention that you're diabetic. We have this immunity product that it's like immensely boost your immune system. You want me to get a little bit more details about it? Because I know that diabetics have a really tough time with their blood sugars when they get sick. I'm telling you guys, like, they will be like, where to sign me up. Okay. So they do everything in their power not to be sick, because they just don't just get sick. They get like, I got to go to the hospital sick. So immunity, you guys, especially with cold and flu season coming up, promote the crap out of that if you're talking to somebody. So maybe like write that one down, because that one is absolutely huge. Probiotics. Okay. Another huge one. Gut health for both diabetics. Uncontrolled blood sugars, like I said in the beginning, damages nerves. So that's also including the nerves of your stomach, your intestines. In fact, a lot of people with diabetes suffer from an immense amount of GI tract infections, constipation. They can actually contract over their diseases. So gut health, knowing that we have a probiotic is going to be another one that when you're talking to them, and you can literally say, like, you know how we promote multiple products, and then I just literally say at the end is like, you know what, I just want to let you know, because like, you know, you did tell me that you're diabetic, and I really think that just before your diabetes, for your overall general health, I think these would really benefit. Just throw them in there. You know, you could even recommend the weight loss products and just be like, you know what, I just kind of thought of this and I thought you might want to know about it, because these products are just so amazing and they're all plant-based, and I think they would help you out immensely. Recommending the probiotics, the immunity, just for that reason. And I'm pretty sure that you could literally, I hate to use the word upsell, but I'm letting you know that this is how they think, right? They're just like, their Colton's guts are hurt all the time. Like the immunity part of it, like these are on their mind constantly. So it's something that if you talk to them about, they would be highly, highly motivated to get something like that. And even our keto energy, because it's so high in B12, diabetics are very, very likely to have a vitamin B deficiency. And which I think it also plays into the gut health, because a vitamin B deficient actually helps with normal cellular function. So, and when Colton is high or low, I guess you want to say, so I'm talking on both levels. When Colton's high, it's basically like being hungover times 10. That's how he feels. And he gets extremely thirsty. He has no energy. He gets very irritable. Actually, he's irritable on both ends, but and he gets very stressed out. He convienza, right? They get anxiety, depression. Those kinds of things are huge with diabetics. A lot of people suffer from depression when they're diabetic because of just their overall lifestyle change. They literally have to be set in a certain range or they feel like crap. Like when Colton's low, he's extremely hungry. He gets more stressed out. Yeah, and then one of the biggest things with diabetics is it's more like the complications of it, right? And the B12 is going to help with a lot of the complications that can have in it. And like I said, and then what else? And then did I think there was there chromium in the B12 as well? I believe there was chromium in it as well. So it's also going to help regulate the blood sugar, but it's going to help bring down their stress levels. So when they're freaking out like that, they can like literally take one of the B12s. Just the energy factor of it though, because a lot of times like it's hard to even get Colton to leave his room sometimes. Yeah, there's chromium in it. I was writing down the ingredients of it. And there's one more I'm going to go over. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, and my last one, and this is my big one, okay? The hydrate. Like, it is literally a diabetic dream, the hydrate, okay? The hardest thing to have to deal with when you're diabetic, type 1 or type 2, is the amount of artificial sweeteners that they have to ingest. And it's actually kind of sickening how much, like, Colton pretty much has to ingest. And it's hard to get away from. I'm not kidding. And, like, if you were, like, on one of the diabetic sites, like the earthquake kits, emergency kits, all have Gatorade in them, but they're all Gatorade Zeros, which are packed full of the yellow color number 5, which is actually known to have cancer properties to it, and is so packed full of artificial sweeteners. And artificial sweeteners, you guys, can cause liver problems. It can actually be the cause of type 2 diabetes. It's an extreme cause of obesity, because the reason being, artificial sweeteners are actually, our brains register them as food, artificial sweeteners. And what happens is, like, our bodies and our livers react to it so much differently than an actual drink that it overloads the system. Our hydrate has literally, like, saved Colton's life when he's been sick. Like, there's no artificial sweeteners in it. It's got electrolytes in it. I swear to God, every diabetic should have the hydrate. Like, I literally just emptied all my stuff and made all Colton's emergency kits and earthquake kits and stuff like that. And they're packed full of the hydrate. The hydrate is just for dehydration. Like, when Colton gets high, like, you can hear it in his mouth how thirsty he is, because it's like an uncontrollable thirst that they have. And instead of giving him water, like, I'll give him the hydrate just to start getting, because the electrolytes can help it will help regulate blood sugar and bring him down, because he will because it's going to help his dehydration. And it's one of the best things. Like, I swear to God, every single diabetic should have it. So it is absolutely incredible. Well, here he comes right now. But we're just talking about you. But those are probably the main products. I guess I'm making sure that I didn't miss one. Okay? We're just talking about your highs and lows. So, but definitely for weight loss, you guys, TFX, greens, fat fuel, the new cleanse would be ones I'd recommend. Definitely staying away from the fat blockers unless they're keto. Like, a few of the diets that what if I wrote any of those down? A few of the diets, if they're wondering which type of diets that would probably be beneficial for them, the Mediterranean diet is actually really good for type 1s. It's high fat. They have vegetables. They have moderate fruit, like a low moderate fruit in it. It's not like keto. What other ones did I read about the other day? I know the Mediterranean diet one stuck out to me huge. I wonder if I still have it on here. I'm not sure if I still have it on here. Darn. That was the other one. A low glycemic diet. That was my other one. A low glycemic diet is one that I would suggest, because a lot of people come to me like, how do you think I should eat? What should I do? Because the whole thing is, guys, like, a lot of type 2s, they're in their situation because of their eating habits. So they don't know how to eat. So type 2s, keto is really good. The intermittent fasting and the keto coffee is really good. And type 1s, low glycemic diet and the Mediterranean diet. So there's a glycemic index. Everything has a number on the glycemic index. And the lower the glycemic index, and remember, we're talking about the absorption of carbs. So those going to be like your less starchier vegetables, your less starchier fruits, and those kinds of things. It just means that all that stuff's going to be absorbed a lot slower in your system, letting your insulin get on board. So, and then I think the keto diet, I think was actually, I'm not going to say founded off it, but that's when they started the Mediterranean diet was when they started realizing that healthy fats of olive oil were actually good for people. And then I think that's when the basis of keto came around, finding that it was really good for weight loss. I was reading an article about that. I don't know. Maybe I should have brought that up, but anyways, yeah, so the low glycemic diet, the Mediterranean diet, really good for people with type 2s, type 1s, type 2s. I would recommend keto, low carb diet. And so yeah, so fat blockers, not for people on keto. But the probiotics, immunity, hydrate, would be some of the ones that I would definitely bring up when I'm talking to either diabetic. But like I said in the beginning, don't count out the coffee, because of the effects that the coffee and the high fat of it will have on a diabetic. And like I said, the absorption of the fats, regulating blood sugar and helping the absorption of carbs and everything like that. So they would be extremely more prone to even purchasing it just to get their healthy dose of high fats in. They would probably be like, and they wouldn't be using it for weight loss. They wouldn't be using it for fasting if it's a type 1. But the benefits of it, like Colton has this, you guys, the fat fuel, Colton has this all the time. He has it as a snack, because it's 6 grams of carbs minus 3 fiber. It's only 3 grams. It makes him full. It's nice and chocolatey for him. And it's going to help regulate his blood sugar. So especially like he's been having a lot of highs lately. So he's been having a lot of the fat fuel. He loves it. So yeah, if you guys, I don't know if you have any questions for me, if you guys want to, if you don't, it's okay. But yeah. I hope you guys learned something. You guys feel like you learned something about it? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. So, and I'm going to post it on my YouTube because I know it's a lot of information. And I'm like, because I can just like talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I'm like, type 1, type 2, type 1, type 2, but blah, 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 blah. But I'll post it to my YouTube so you can be like, oh man, like I know Jamie said something about the coffee. I know they can't use it for weight loss, but I know they should still have it. So you guys, you can just head to my YouTube and find it and just find the coffee spot. Or like, like I said about the immunity or the probiotics or whatever, right? And like, what was that line that she said, how I can kind of fit it in there? So I would just literally, that's exactly how to, I would like, hey, you know what? Like, I know you just mentioned, you're type 2 diabetic, and, like we have these couple of products I think that, your diabetes would extremely benefit from. Cold and flu season's coming, you know what I mean? So that's all I would say. Just be open and honest about it. And I think it's a great way. And they are just generally going to become a healthier diabetic because of it. So, and that's honestly like the goal of diabetic is like literally they live off talking about carbs, carb ratios, talking to their dietitian team. They're like, it is like in a whole nother language, but their whole lives are just consumed by health, food, carbs, sugars, proteins, fats. Like it's just their whole life. It's like their whole day is consumed by it. So to find something that might help them with that, you guys, it's not like, oh, like, why are you bringing that up? They'll be like, oh my God, where do I find them? Because they've already been thinking about that. So like, we're already thinking about cold and flu season coming. Like, it's like, everybody's got to wash their hands. Everybody's got to try to stay as healthy as we possibly can. So Colton doesn't go to the hospital. So it's, so it's something that's on their mind already. And I want to just let you guys know that it's on their mind constantly. So don't be afraid to bring it up because they're going to benefit from it. The greens, because they help boost immunity too. If I was talking to a diabetic and I said, it's an immunity booster too, because so is our greens, our super reds, they're immunity boosters. I would put that out. If you have like a regular greens message, I would put that in there. And like, I know they say you're diabetic, you know what, this is an immunity booster. And I bet you're pretty worried about cold and flu season coming up. This could be a game changer for you. So they're like, sign me up. And that would literally like be the sale right there, because I'm like, I'll take the greens no matter what. So, and like, we're like Colton's drinking, like these are the berry, but like I put the chocolate greens in the BFF for him. Like we're going to try to boost his immunity as much as we possibly can now that school's back in. So yeah. So I hope you guys learned something. We're just a little over 30 minutes. So yeah, I'll stop the recording for definitely.